Do you want to know where to go fishing this weekend and all the secret spots here in Sydney to fish this long weekend? Well, stick around to the end because I'm going to reveal some secret spots that are going to guarantee to catch you fish. G'day guys and welcome back to this week's fishing report. Let's get straight into what's been biting over the last week. Over the past weekend, there's been a bit of inclement weather about, some rain and quite a lot of wind and swell about, which has mixed up our inshore reefs. Now, we always talk about snapper in shallow, and over the last couple of weeks, we've seen them come back on the chew. The snapper in shallow during the week have been really, really good, mainly because the weekend we've had a lot of rain, which has murked up the water. We've got a big swell and a lot of wind that have crashed into those reefs and stirred up a lot of bait and stirred up a lot of burley for the snapper to head in close in shallow to catch them. Again, early morning, late afternoon, around a tide change has been proving really successful on the snapper of Sydney. Jib and Bommy, Mary's Reef producing some really nice snapper. Moving on into the river, we have two species that have been absolutely going off. Our kingfish and our salmon. Now our salmon, I'll talk about the salmon first. The salmon in the Port Hacking specifically are extra oversized. They are in excess of 70 centimetres. You'll see them out off Salmon Hall and Main Bar. Throwing a drone up and finding the school and then moving over to the school with your boat has been proving to be really successful rather than just having to drive around and seeing if you can find them. They were literally swimming around other people's boats, eating live bait within an arm's reach of them. Again, like I said, fish in excess of 70 centimetres. Now, salmon aren't the most sought after fish on the table. Yes, I agree, they're not the most tastiest fish in the world, but they are one of the hardest fighting fish and one of the best fights that you could ever have. The key has been using walk the dog surface lures, so sugar pens, bent minnows, and all those sorts of style hard body surface lures on lightly weighted outfits. Don't go out there with 20, 30 pound outfits. Go out there with 10 to 12 maximum pound outfits because these guys aren't going to bury you in reefs. They're just going to send out for really, really long runs and then you can bring them back in. They're not going to bury you in the reef. The only thing that you're going to do is pull hooks. So make sure you've got the right hooks connected to your lures and you should be in with an amazing session on the salmon. Moving on into the kingfish, like I said over the last couple of weeks, the kingfish have been coming in hot and thick as of late. There's been some nice fish in Botany Bay, caught around the runways, Yarra Bay and Watts Reef. In the Port Hacking, they've been caught around Gunnamatta Bay, Burraneer Bay and the deep drop off there off Lilipilly. Again, like I've said over the last couple of weeks, at the top end of the run-in tide is when they've been at their peak bite time into the top couple of hours of that run-out tide. So 2 hours before the top of the run-in tide and 2 hours after the top of the run-in tide and the tide has turned and started to run out has been proving successful for the kingfish. In the Port Hacking, they've been caught all the way up to Southwest Arm and Northwest Arm, which is way up in the far reaches of the system. That just proves that the bait is pushing everywhere in that system, and being able to find where that bait is going to prove to be a crucial step in success for kingfish. They've been biting on live baits, number one live bait being squid, but also yellowtail and slimy mackerel as well. At the early start of this season, you will find a more consistent capture of bigger kingfish, and then as the summer goes on, the rats seem to take over, and it's quite hard to get through the rats. So our 50 to 60 centimetre kingfish, make sure that you head out there, grab some live bait if you can, and have a fish. Okay, so moving on into the weekend, and this is where I'm going to talk about some spots and certain bite windows that are going to produce some really nice fish over the weekend. Now, looking at Saturday, we've got a nice forecasted day. Again, please check the forecast before you head out. This is my predictions, and I'm reading the weather forecast for the coming days, and it could change dramatically. So we have a high tide at around 9:30 in the morning and a low tide at about 3:45 in the afternoon. This is on Saturday specifically. So I'm going to be fishing around those two bite windows, and I'm going to be talking about fishing in the early morning. Again, like I said in the report, the kingfish have been eating really, really well into the top end of that run-in tide, which is about 9:30. So it gives you the opportunity to head out really early in the morning, go grab some live baits, head it back into the river or in our inshore reefs because they've been there as well, and troll around some live baits till about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And then I'll probably switch tack, use the run out tide to my advantage and go target some edges. They could still be there, but the running tide has been proving the most successful bite time for the kingfish. So as we head to the bottom end of the tide, like I've said over the last 3-4 weeks, the flathead have been on the chew. I'm going to be hitting the edges from about 1 o'clock onwards to about 4 o'clock, targeting my flathead on soft plastics. Now, finding a nice shallow sand flat that then drops off into some deep water is going to be the key for that. Using 2.5 to 4 inch length in soft plastics are also a key. 1/4 ounce, 1/6, 1/8, something around that mark in less than 5 meters of water should be producing some nice flathead during that bite time. Moving on into Sunday, and we have a northwest and a southwesterly wind. It's going to be shifting from the northwest to the southwest throughout the whole day. That's what's been predicted. But again, what I'm looking at in key here is that afternoon run out tide. Now on Saturday, it was at about 3:30. On Sunday, it would be pushed to 4:30, 4:45. So that's getting even closer to that sunset period. And now with the swell being down, and over the last couple of weeks, if you've watched my fishing reports, what I really like is an afternoon tide change and the swell being down to target our snapper. Now, our snapper, you'll be able to catch them throughout all the year. 365 days of the year out of Sydney, you'll be able to catch snapper. It's just where you will go to target them. Now, at this period of time, we're heading towards the back end of our shallow water snapper season. So catching fish inside 30 meters of water on lightly weighted soft plastics, that season is starting to come to an end, and it's going to be only in the last couple of weeks. We're going to find them in nice and shallow. So I'm going to have a last couple digs. So I'm going to have a couple more sessions out, particularly in the afternoons, targeting our snapper on soft plastics in the late afternoon. So Sunday afternoon, that's what I would be looking at. Again, similar to Saturday, in the morning, what you want to do, run in tide, go grab some live baits, or use some lightly weighted soft plastics, target your kingfish, use your sounder, look for the bait, look for the kingfish on the sounder, and you should be able to find yourself a nice kingfish. Spots to head out on Sunday for our kingfish, again, Botany Bay, we've got the runways, Yarra Bay, Watts Reef are all really good, and then out off the heads there's some nice reefy areas where the kingfish have been there. Anchoring up around the runways again and creating a burley trail should be able to produce some nice kingfish as well. If you're moving into the Port Hacking, we've caught them all the way up from Northwest Arm all the way to the heads. The biggest thing about the Port Hacking is going to find where the bait is. Now, the bait has been producing around Lillypilly and Burraneer Bay. Those are the two main areas where they've been seen. Again, if there isn't much action in the main spots that you are going to head, trust me, go find some other spots. Go into Gunnamatta Bay, go out on Main Bar, go down to Southwest Arm, Northwest Arm. The kingfish are going to be around. It's just a matter of finding the bait and finding where they are. And once you can, you're going to be in for a really successful session. Then if you're looking at targeting the snapper like I am on that Sunday afternoon around the tide change, around sunset, because we have a low tide and a little bit of wind about, but just enough to make it nice and comfortable to be able to head out offshore, I'm going to be heading to Jimbinbommy and Mary's Reef. I'm going to start at Mary's Reef first, then head to Jimbinbommy. Because it's a southwest wind, I'm going to go with it to start. Try Mary's Reef. If it's no good, I'm going to head into the wind and then drift across Jimbinbommy along that southwesterly wind. Now, when we talk about Monday, we're looking at some really nice tide changes. Our low tides at around sunrise and sunset. So we've got a 5 o'clock low tide and a 6 o'clock low tide again in the afternoon, and about a 1 o'clock high tide. So if we're looking at our bite windows and our options to be able to go out and have a fish, we've got low swell as well. We've got a northwest wind again, which is quite variable at the moment. So again, go out, check the live forecast of the wind, then make your decision. That's what I'm going to be doing. If the wind is down in the morning, I'm going to head out offshore, grab some live baits. I'm going to slow troll around Jimbinbommy, Mary's Reef, Osborne Shoal. Like the three areas that I'm going to slow troll around and target some kingfish. Yes, I could go north to the cliffs or south to the cliffs, but because of that variable wind, I want to stay pretty close to the mouth of the Port Hacking River just for safety. And if I need to quickly duck back in because the wind's picked up really quickly, it's only a short trip back and I don't have to worry about beating into wind or heading back in a dangerous situation. So going to go out to middle ground, grab some live bait, go try a few squid spots, see if I can get some squid, and then slow troll around for some kingfish in the morning. Now, again, the low tide in the afternoon, you can do the same thing, but you could change your tack. The way I see it on Monday, you've got two real options. You can target your snapper or your kingfish, and if none of those work, I'd head back into Main Bar or around the heads of Botany Bay and target some salmon. So those are like my plan A, B, and C. Now, depends on what you want to target, and what you really want to catch will depend on what you will want to do. Okay, so if you want to combine plan A and B, that's a really good way to do it. Go get some live bait, go get some squid, drift rather than slow troll. Drift through those shallow reef areas, so Jibbon Mary's Reef, Osborne Shoal. Drift through them with a live bait and have a plastic out the front and cast the plastic while the live bait is slowly just drifting along out the back. And you can target your snapper and your kingfish on the plastics. And then also you can target, again, your snapper and your kingfish on the live bait. Obviously, your kingfish is probably more likely to bite the live bait than a snapper will, but the snapper will obviously grab a live bait. If they're hungry enough, they're going to eat it regardless. So that's my plan for Monday. Head out offshore. If the wind is up and it's too dangerous, head back in, target some salmon on surface, even on fly as well. That'd be cool. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. Overarching picture of the weekend. We're going to work it around our tide changes. We've got run out tides. We've got run in tides. We're looking at the top end of the run in tide and the back end of that run out tide as our two key moments for the estuary fishing. Looking for our salmon and kingfish in the estuary. If we're heading out offshore, we're live baiting our reefs for kingfish and using our soft plastics for snapper. So there's plenty on offer here off Sydney for the weekend. And I hope you all go out and enjoy your weekend. I'm going out this weekend, first time camping with my family, with my young little boy who's just turned 1. Our first time out camping. So very exciting stuff for us. And I hope you all go out there. I hope you all go catch some fish. Let me know how you go. Leave a comment down below. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.